This is the Zon and Ian podcast. I'm Johnny Gifford. I'm the producer, and I'd like to introduce two legislators from Windham County. We got Windham 1 and Windham 9, either end of Windham County here. Zon Eastis.
Howdy.
Oh my God.
Oh, what a way
this is a huge
introduce
mistake.
yourself. And Ian Goodnow.
Hi, Johnny. Thank you very much for being part of this podcast with us.
This is their podcast, and I am simply the conduit to allow things to happen and to broadcast here on Brattleboro Community Television, on your podcast platform of choice. You can also find us on email, thezonianpodcast@gmail.com. And I'd like to just say that Stardust is our opening intro song. It was composed by Clark Hubbard, performed by the Vanderbilt Percussion Group, and recorded and produced by Continuous Motion Productions. Pretty cool song, isn't it?
Very cool.
Yeah, you found that one, Zon, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, Zon.
That was great. Great
Good
stuff.
Good find.
Yeah. Very cool music.
Are they like local or anything?
No, it's but I have family living in Tennessee, so
okay.
That's great. Vanderbilt, Nashville.
Yeah, you both have very interesting lives outside of your legislative roles, but we're here to sort of focus on...
Yeah, what are we here for?
We're here to talk about what you guys have been up to the last, 5 or 6 months or however long it's been, really. You're both freshman representatives in the Vermont State Legislature.
Right.
Like I mentioned before, Zon representing Windham 1 and Ian representing Windham 9. Ian is my personal representative, so I might give him a really hard time at times.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's right. And I really want to get a sense of sort of where you guys were in December or January before starting the session as to where you are now here in June 2025 after coming fresh off your first session. What has that been like? Would you feel like you've been through trauma, or you've been through like some horrible experience, or I don't know, like what's your impression of that experience?
I wouldn't say trauma.
Yeah.
But lots.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll talk, but humbling.
That's the whole idea.
Humbling. Lots to learn. Amazing. I feel like I've started all over in, college or something. Just so much to learn, and so much I didn't know, and lots and lots of helpful people. Yeah. Amazing staff there. The Legislative Council is amazing. The Joint Fiscal Office is amazing, and the operations folks are just unbelievable. So helpful. I do feel like I know a lot more now than when we started.
Yeah.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. Have you been listening? And trying to, I think going off of that was from Zon. Honored to get to do it. Yeah. And feel really privileged that I have the capacity to do it with my family, and trying to be pretty humble going in, and because you're in a building full of people who all are passionate about Vermont and about their communities, and they all have great ideas, and so trying to navigate that flow and try to be a contributing member while also respecting the process and respecting where you are in it. It's very humbling. And I'm very grateful that I've gotten to go through that experience with Zon.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, on the first day, they seat us in the seats we're going to have in the chamber, and of course they tell you leading up to it that we're going to be the ones selecting the seats. I don't know how that works. Whatever.
It's not assigned seating. You get to choose your own.
Well, that's what they tell us.
Oh, okay.
But in fact, they do assign it.
Oh,
and it's very Hogwarts like. You stand at the gate, and you get escorted down to your seat. It gets announced, and it was quite this thing, and everyone's clapping. And you walk in, and Ian had gone before me, and so then I walked in, and they said, and they told me what number it was. I had no idea what that meant, but then they walked me down the aisle, and there was Ian, and he sort of went like this, and I realized I was going to sit next to him.
I went more like, no.
And that's why we're here today. The seatmates have bonded over the course of the last 5 months or so, and just look at you now. I love being in a group chat with you two, because you'll just send me like sneaky selfies of each other whenever you stand up to speak to the whole house floor or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's. I knew Ian before a little bit because we were both chairs of our select boards. I was chair of the Guilford Select Board. You were chair of Brattleboro at about the same time. So we bumped into each other a little bit, and I certainly
I was a lot busier,
Right.
Brattleboro Select Board Chair.
Running like a town of 12,000.
Yeah, 12,500.
Okay, yeah. And how many in your town?
Like
2,500.
Cool.
Yeah, 2,200. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
In the end, though, we're both representing the same number of people.
That's right.
That's how the
He
legislature
only gets
works.
to be a third of Brattleboro.
Yes.
Yeah, he doesn't get to run the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you also represent Vernon as well.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. So the district, Wyndham 1 is Vernon and Guilford. Yeah. So my run up to the election was that I know some people in Vernon for sure, but I don't know a lot of people, not like I know in Guilford after these years of being on the select board.
And I see you at the you show up at the town meeting. You're putting
yeah.
yourself out there. You're
Yeah.
telling people who you are and the work you're doing, and that you're the representative.
I knocked on a lot of doors. So did you.
Oh, yeah.
We both knocked on a lot of doors before the election to let people know who we were, and sort of at that point I'd say kind of pretending what we were standing for and what we thought about and everything. And then when you get there, you realize, yeah, those values are still in place, but it's a different thing to work with 150 people who are all coming from their districts about the same size, and we have to all work together to get things moving.
Yeah, and like Ian said, everyone's there, super excited about Vermont and passionate about it. And I can imagine that must be so overwhelming, especially at first when you're meeting all these different people. You're meeting like 150 plus other people because there's admin and other staff. Like, how is that organized? Like, how do you kind of just like, is it like a free for all? You just meet people in the cafeteria as you bump into them? Like, how are you sort of making all these connections?
Yeah, I think it's the reality is that you're probably I was still meeting people and having real conversations for the first time up into the very end of the session.
Oh, absolutely.
So like the reality is like you're not gonna. I wasn't able to have a really close connection with everybody right off the bat. So I think acknowledging that and then sort of taking your time and putting yourself out there. It can be, especially I've come to learn that the winters in Montpelier are pretty rough. And so it can be kind of easy to get isolated. You walk into the Capitol, you do your stuff in committee work, and then you can walk home if you want to. But if you put yourself out there, try to meet people at the cafeteria or go out to dinner, spend time in the building just outside of the committee or floor time, and just be open. And I think that's something I've worked on. I wouldn't say I've figured it all out yet. But.
Well, we're all different. And yeah, I mean, I think that when we go there, first of all, there's an orientation, a really well done orientation for 2 or 3 days for the freshmen. There were 50 freshmen, and we were all just bathed in all this information. It really was that, because didn't know where to place it all, did not hook it all up, and yet there it is. And so we did that, and then every legislator, person in the House, is assigned to a committee, a single committee. In the Senate, they work on 2 committees. So you spend a lot of time with your committee members, because a lot of the work that's being done in the House, especially in the first year of the biennium, I'm guessing, is done more by just working to create bills, create policies, create ideas. And I don't know, I would say I was in committee probably 5 to 8 hours a day.
Wow.
While we're there. And so you really get to know that group of people really, really well. And then the people near you in the House.
Yeah, and then it kind of it spreads out as I think that's been my I totally agree with that. And I put a giant asterisk and behind everything that I'm saying on this podcast that I've only done this for 1 session. So
exactly.
This is sort of my impression right now.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm also learning to give myself room to learn and evolve my opinions and ideas on things.
I'm sure every year is going to feel a little different as you do it. But I think you're coming in to this podcast with a really unique perspective that you're bridging the gap between, I don't know what this is, I've never done this before, to, okay, I've dipped my toes in a little bit now.
And I think when the 3 of us were talking about sort of the idea of this podcast, one of the things that I was hoping to achieve with it is I get a lot of questions about what's it like? Oh, you're new. And so to give bounce these things off Zon and I about like, what is it like being new to this, and try to like give that perspective to our constituents and other people who are interested. And we can talk about policy and everything too. But I think that is something that people are interested in, or at least in my community.
No, sure. Friends ask. They definitely want to know what the experience is like.
I
mean, they trust. A lot of people trust that we're working on policy and we're working on moving, advancing, making things better for Vermonters. But then
I am.
I definitely am. But there, I'm not sure you are.
Oh!
I'm just kidding. But it is amazing that there is this whole other way of connecting. I mean, I spent the first few weeks feeling really kind of unsure that I was even going to be able to make the kind of decision that I needed to be able to make as a legislator, because I didn't know enough. I felt so uninformed, or even I had lots of information going in, but I didn't know where to stack it up. I didn't know how to put things together. I wasn't adept, if that's the right word, yet.
Like in the processes themselves of like how to take this information and your will and like how to actually shape it into something that's going to like do anything.
Right. Well, I think the biggest one for me, and I still don't have it, is the alphabet soup. I mean, everybody talks about the CRB and the ALM and the RCP, and they all just talk about it like they know exactly what it is. And all these organizations all go by these code words, and they're all hooked up. And I don't know how they're all hooked up yet. I don't know that.
Do they have a cheat sheet you could just like,
it would
for
be
acronyms?
A dictionary of cheat sheet. It's not something you just look down at and sort of get a feel for. So you just have to kind of trust. And it's true that eventually you start to get, so I can mouth those initials now. Some of them, not all of them. By
which
means.
is something that I'm very conscious of as I'm listening to us talk, that there is a bit of a language that is spoken there that is not particularly easy, I think, for people who aren't in the legislature to understand everything that's going on. So if we're talking like that, so I think it's something I'm going to be conscious of when we're doing this podcast, is try to just like not use all of the lingo and everything. Like, for example, like I don't know if everyone knows what Leg Council is. I don't know if everyone knows what the
Joint Fiscal Office
is. Yeah.
Correct.
So. And of course, we're not going to explain it now. So
no, not right now. We gotta ease our way in.
Yeah.
Well, so an example of this is that we closed rather quickly at the end, and we're not done yet. There's still more for us to do. There's one more bill that we have to address. But as we were moving toward closure, the Speaker of the House, the Joe Krowinski, who's leading us through the process, started making kinds of requests that I'd never even heard of before, so we could get our work done, so things could move faster. We have to, essentially break our own rules.
So what Zon's talking about is like procedure on the floor of the House. So the floor uses what's called Mason's rules, which is like a legislative rule set, kind of like Robert's rules, which people probably have heard of from like the select boards and stuff, or like small meeting Robert's rules. So Mason's rules is what the legislature uses, and what is happening at the end of the session is what is basically like procedural dance to which is all allowed within the rules, but to basically get us to where we need to be with like the number of days that need to happen before a bill can be considered again and all these different things. So and it's like seeing it happen live is you realize how much you don't know. And
that's another thing that's really big. I don't know about you, Ian, but for me, I learned really quickly, because there are 150 people in the House, and there's no way I'm going to understand everything I need to understand or wish I understood about everything. You really do learn to trust very quickly a lot of people in the House, and you trust the processes that are set up. You learn to trust the processes, the work that the committees are doing. And I find myself spending huge amounts of energy watching the people that have been there in the House the longest. There are 150 members in the House. 50 of them were elected in the last election.
Yeah, there was a huge turnover in the last election.
And you can imagine that's quite the dynamic, right? So like a third are brand new.
Another third were just elected 2 years ago.
Yep.
So 2/3 of the House has been there for 3 years or less. So, you might be worried. But in fact, the 50 people that have been there longer than that, there are some folks that have been in the House for 40 years. 25 years. It's amazing to watch them work, to listen to them talk, the wisdom they have about the processes we're going through, and their long-term view about certain policy decisions that we're discussing. Like, it may feel like we're talking a lot about education. Well, there's a big, long history in Vermont about all the bills and acts that have been enacted over the last 15 or 20 years that some of the people in the House have lived through, and they can chart all of that through their own experience. And when I try to keep track of it, it's because I'm learning it for the first time, and I'm sort of as a viewer rather than an actual experienced person.
Yeah.
So it's very, I really trust those people and pay attention to them.
So what I'm getting out of this is that you're more or less just seeing someone who's been doing this for so long and basically just mirroring them to learn how it all works. And I'm sure that's what they did with their predecessors.
Yes.
And so like, who really made all this up? Someone just made this up like in the beginning, and you just been,
Everyone's just mirroring.
Everyone's like, all right, that's how you're supposed to do it.
Well, it's very interesting too. I love that there's a lot of reference to the times before, not just 15, 20 years,
Sure.
but hundreds of years,
You think a lot of that holds through? And
There's something, when we go quiet, for instance, they ask for silence in the room, or when we do certain things that have been done since the founding of Vermont, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And you feel that connection going in. I do.
And you're working in a museum.
Yeah.
Like the building itself is a historic, like
So beautiful.
jewel for Vermont.
truly, and there's a lot of art in there too.
yeah, so
It
much.
Straight up, like it looks like a museum in a lot of different
Yeah.
rooms.
And there's and I love when I'm making my way to committee, and there's like a whole group of kids from a class who are like on a tour, and they're like it's just, there's all this life happening in the building all the time. And I think stopping to appreciate that is something that I'm going to work on, because I think it can get a little easy to have my nose in the statutes and working in my committee and not be thinking as much about sort of the bigger picture. And I think, just to bounce off of one of Zon's points, it can be it's very easy to sort of feel like dropped into this session, and it's like, okay, so this is when all these things started. Like we're tackling these big issues for Vermont, and this is the legislator who's going to do it. And like, it can be easy to forget that, like, oh no, these are conversations that have been being had and work that has been being done for decades, and you are the next voice and the next part of that conversation, and like learning to appreciate and understand those past conversations is how you move it forward.
And with any luck, something might get done about it.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know how you feel, but Ian, but I feel like the what would you call it? The mandate from the voters in November was so strong and so clear. I feel like the legislature has really grappled with the very issues that were stated to all of us as we were listening on listening tours. We have to do tweakings of various statute and various laws and things. That's just kind of like housekeeping. We have to do that all the time. But the real work, the big heavy lifting work, I feel like to be in a room with people that are really all focused on those ideas and to feel like we're actually struggling to do right by Vermonters, that is very impressive to me. I feel very honored to be part of that, and watching other people know better than I about how it is that we listen and we take in and we hear and then we begin to process. And they know how to do that, and it's really like an amazing. It's an amazing process to just watch and be part of. Actually, yeah.
I want to ask one more question, sort of about like the overall adjusting to this new life before we sort of start to wind down and wrap up. And I know the time is really flying. Just when we're just having fun.
When you listen to Zon.
Listen to you talk all day, Zon.
No. Go on.
But like, I want to sort of. I've had a theme. There's been a theme of this episode of just like overall, what is it like to step into that culture for the first time? And Ian mentioned the winters being harsh in Montpelier. I get that. I mean, like, the difference between Brattleboro and Montpelier this year was crazy. The couple of times I went, it was like snowing hard in Montpelier with nothing in Brat. But you got to get out of get the animals out of their enclosures sometimes, and have enriching activities. Are there things that the State House does? Like you talked about, like people might just go out to dinner or meet up, but like what do they do to like keep you sane at those times? Like they must give you some sort of activity to do, or like give you reasons to like fraternize and meet up with each other. Like what do they organize?
We
over
should
at the
talk
State
about
House?
the Wednesdays.
Yeah, there are various things that they try to
Farmers'
keep.
nights.
They try to keep us organized in some ways. I mean, like the freshmen have a Friday moment when we're all together on the Democratic side, when we all sit and talk, but it's all about policy and procedure, pretty much, and questions we have.
Boring.
Actually, when you're in it, it's actually not that boring.
I'm sure, like,
I think maybe Ian's a little bored. I don't know.
I find it very interesting.
I'm sure talking about that with other freshmen is actually interesting because you're not just like trying to play catch up.
Because we're really all trying to do good work,
Yeah.
I think. And it's like most of us just go, well, what's this? What's this? And try to figure that out. But there is this incredibly long tradition on Wednesday nights, not the entire, every single Wednesday night, called Farmers' Night. And it's a series of concerts that's been going on for over 100 years on Wednesday nights in the State House. People come and there's some interesting event, cultural event, a concert, a poetry reading, jazz, whatever.
They do that on the House floor.
Yeah.
It's
So
very nice.
they'll like set it up differently so that they have the room for the musicians or whoever's performing, and yeah, it's like a really wonderful, and it's at night. I think that's another thing that's nice is like we don't really spend, except near the end, we don't spend a lot of time in the building in the evening, like late into the evening, and so it's nice to see it lit up like that and be on the floor like that. It's really nice.
Yeah, one other thing that I found really interesting, intriguing, and kind of lovely to look at is that we have this series of pages that come and work with us, and that in its own way we don't engage with them, but you see them active, and it's I guess the way to respond to your question might be it's not so much that we need to get away from doing this one thing, because what we're doing is so multi-layered, and there's so many different places you can plug in, and so many different ways that are connecting here and there, and just learning all that. It's a little bit like, I don't know what it's like. It's just pretty impressive. And so, but the pages are really amazing to watch them have the same process. The first week they're each
6 weeks.
6 weeks. A set of them was with us for 6 weeks, 7 of them or so. And at first, you can just see the kind of uncertainty, the trepidation as they move around and try to connect with us and learn what they need to learn. And by the end, 6 weeks, they own the building. They could run the place. They know what's going on. They're totally, and so I always looked at them as a model of, well, maybe this is what's happening to us in a longer, slower way.
Yeah.
So that keeps you enthralled, keeps you interested.
Yeah, and they're really nice kids, and they're bright, and they're engaged, and they're also just themselves. They eat breakfast together, they eat lunch together, they meet. They have to do certain things, certain responsibilities they have for being a page. It's not just about carrying notes around from here to there, but they're actually, they have to make reports and that kind of thing. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
All right, now before we totally wrap up for the day, I want to introduce this new segment called "What Has Zon Learned About Technology This Week?" Zon, is there anything that you've learned about your iPhone that you'd like to tell us? And if not, I could give you something.
Oh, there we go. That might be the thing, because I'm always open to learn. Yeah, I know. I will admit that I thought that I might be the oldest freshman in our class, at least on the Democratic side. I'm not. I'm right up there.
You're a spring chicken, Zon.
But no, there are a couple other. It turns out there are 2 that are older than me, and but I'm of that ilk. And so what do I know about iPhones? Nothing.
I don't know. You have pretty good technological ability when all is said and done. I think.
Well,
I'm impressed watching it on.
Honestly.
You do.
You can react to messages. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it is true. Yeah. Oh, when phones were first coming out back in the day, when everybody was just learning how to.
All right,
use
now
a
you're
phone.
starting to sound old.
Anyway, really old. But I was in the airport one day and waiting for a flight. It wasn't about my iPhone, but I walked by and somebody's phone was ringing. You couldn't shut them off in those days; they were just ringing, whatever. And this woman was totally freaked out. She was just freaking out. And the person said, "Answer your phone." She goes, "I don't know how." I think I've come a long way since then.
Yeah.
Well, Zon, there's this really interesting thing you can do on Google that you may or may not know about, and if you already know about it, then kudos, honestly. But basically, if you're on Google, right? Google.com, normally you just search for a term and it would come up with other terms and images and whatnot,
Yeah.
But what if, say, there's an image that you want to look up? You have an image and you want to Google that image.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I've seen it.
You're like, what does this image mean? What is it? Maybe someone's trying to scam you and say, hey, I'm I'm your long lost relative on Facebook or whatever. And they're trying, and then you might look up the image.
How do you look up an image?
So what you do is like you take a screenshot of the image, right? I don't know. I don't really have a good example offhand. But what you can do is on Google, there's this little like sort of scan button with a camera in it. It's sort of next to the microphone.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You tap on that and you can either take a picture or you can hit the little like library icon.
I see. I'm going to
watch Zon do it live on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like find a picture of yourself and look it up or something. I don't know, or just find some sort of picture.
I don't have that scanner. So my phone's too old.
I don't know. Can I see what it looks like?
Sure.
So you should just try to go to google.com.
Go to google.com. I said I wasn't at Google. I was just in the search.
You were just in the search engine.
Yeah.
Okay, so now here we go. So now you got that little camera icon right there, right?
See it there.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
So you can look up an image and then get results for it. It'll tell you like if that image is found elsewhere on the internet.
So hit that.
Yeah.
And then all right.
Allow.
They're gonna. Okay, now I drag something. Continue.
Okay. So now you need to take a picture. Okay. Yeah.
Whoops.
I don't know if this is going to come up with anything, but you can try.
I don't really want to allow limited access.
Right. Yeah, don't limit that access.
Okay, let's look that up. I like that. Okay, done.
So what did you search for?
I searched for a. Wait.
It did it. Yeah. Now,
okay.
This is the search.
Oh, okay. It's generating a search of. Oh gosh, I see. Cool. All right, so
what did you get?
Well, I looked up some tiles. Can you see this? I don't know. I looked up this picture of tiles that I've been looking at, and it tells me exactly where the thing was.
Oh,
so, wow.
Very cool. You know exactly what company and what it was. But I should try. I'll go home and try it. I can look up a person. Like I could look up Johnny, and it would show me at least some ideas about what it thinks are you, or things about you, or people that look like
I think if there's an image that you have of me and then you search for it and it looks similar to any other image of me on the internet, it might connect the two.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I've seen that. I see. Okay. Yeah.
Or if you pull an image from like Google Image and then did a search using that image,
you'd find every other result with that image in it.
Yeah.
All right.
You'd find my LinkedIn and my Instagram and my
Okay, if you want to plug
BCTV.
your Instagram and your LinkedIn on
I
our
see.
podcast,
Okay.
you don't have to do it in such a subtle way. You can just do it at the end.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know enough how to. I sit and poke. I'm not going to do that in front of all this. So.
No, but I think that's interesting. You're looking at some tiles, and now you can find what is this tile pattern called? Like, where else might you find it?
Exactly.
I just wanted you to know that, Zon.
Thank you.
Because knowledge is power.
All right. Knowledge. I definitely believe that, Thomas Jefferson. So we have to.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. I think we should wrap up our first episode of the Zip podcast.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. Johnny, thank you very much for being our host and sort of propelling us along in the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'd like to just say, please feel free to use the music not just as an intro. We have rights to use it kind of in and out.
Like as an outro?
An outro, maybe.
Okay.
The opposite of an intro.
Yeah.
What a crazy idea. All right.
Stardust, composed by Clark Hubbard, performed by Vanderbilt Percussion Group, recorded and produced by Continuous Motion Productions, is our outro music. You've been watching or listening to the Zon Ian podcast. I'm Johnny Gifford, the producer, here with Wyndham 1 legislator in the House, Zon Eastis, and Wyndham 9, Ian Goodnow. This is episode 1. Thank you for watching and listening. Email us at thezonianpodcast@gmail.com if you have any feedback or questions for us. And you can find us on your podcasting platform of choice. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See y'all. God, that really took a long time. That's like almost an hour.
I know.